Hello there everybody, it is me XfreezerBunny and welcome back to another Sims 4 speed build. So today we're back with another traditional Japanese house build. This time I'm really happy to make it a lot more accurate because once again I am using Felixander CC. So today's build is a house called a Kyo-Machiya. So this is a very famous type of house usually found in the city of Kyoto in Japan. For those of you who didn't know, Kyoto is the historical capital of Japan. That's why it has a lot of historical architecture, and this is one of the houses that's really famous there. A lot of them nowadays have been converted into really luxurious Airbnbs or even like hotels where, you know, people who can afford them can actually stay in traditional houses like these. I've actually checked to see like how much it costs to stay in a house like this, and it's pretty pricey. I think the one this was based off of was like, I don't know, I think it was 40,000 yen a night, which is crazy. It's a lot of money. But you know what, I think it's great because it's another historical house, and I think that the fact that a lot of them are being converted, it just means that they're being preserved, and that makes me so happy as someone who is a very strong advocate of architectural preservation and conservation. So this house actually is different from a traditional Japanese machiya. For those of you who haven't been following my Redesign New Crest series, I've already done a machiya that didn't use any CC, but this time I'm doing a Kyomachiya, and one of the main differences that I notice is that a Kyomachiya typically follows the eel bed type of layout, which basically means it has a very narrow front and it goes all the way back, and it also involves a series of courtyards, which probably doesn't happen in traditional machiyas, because basically a machiya is a general term that refers to any kind of townhouse in Japan, but I think a Kyomachiya specifically means this type of townhouse that follows the bed of eels layout. I don't necessarily think that Kyomachiyas only have to exist in Kyoto as long as they follow, you know, that layout, but I think most of them can be found in Kyoto, especially in the Gion district, which is kind of like the district where all of the geishas are located. Speaking of geishas, I remember a couple of months back, last December, I rewatched one of my favorite movies that's set in Japan, Memoirs of a Geisha, and yeah, it's so beautiful. I still really love that. I always fanboy about that movie with my fellow otaku friends. I actually mentioned this term in one of my tweets when I was posting previews about this build in my Twitter. But for those of you who don't know, an otaku is basically a word that means somebody who's really into what they're doing, but also it could also mean somebody who's really into Japanese culture, like anime and video games or whatever. I think that's actually an outdated term because I don't encounter the word otaku as much now as I did maybe 10 years ago when I was in high school. So I don't know, tell me if you you know, Gen Z people out there also use that word as well, or is there another word that you use instead of an otaku? Let me know. But here you can see probably my favorite part of this house, which is actually the layout for the inside. I really love how I was able to use a lot of these new archways to create this kind of like fluid dimension for this interior, because you can't really tell, you know, which room is which. You know, like the separation between the different rooms isn't as definite because, as with traditional Japanese architecture, a lot of the spaces are very flexible, so you can just open a door and you can combine two rooms and all of that good stuff. It's pretty interesting. So that's my favorite quality that I was able to do in the interior. Also noticed that for this build I was a little bit all over the place because I just kept working in my usual pace, which barely happens chronologically. Sometimes whenever I do something that isn't chronological, I try to edit it into the part where it's supposed to fit in, but most times it doesn't go so well. So in this case, I am working on the exterior even though I've already done a little bit of work on the interior as well. Also notice that I also duplicated this townhouse. I always get comments asking me to furnish the house next door every time I do builds like these. You guys, you know what, to be honest, the reason why I don't furnish the house next door is just I just cannot be bothered, because personally, my personal preference when it comes to my gameplay is just I just want the house that I'm playing at furnished. The other houses next door, no matter how many they are, I don't want them furnished because I don't really want them lagging up my game, and also I don't want them to distract me. But I get how people want me to furnish the other house, because with Sims 4 University Life, Discover University, we got the roommate system, right? Which basically gives you the ability to, move in NPCs into your house, which is actually a gameplay feature that I find very intriguing, but I don't think it's worth all of the effort to furnish the other house. Like, this house has 2 bedrooms, so if you want to move in roommates, you can just have them live in the other bedroom. By the way, speaking of bedrooms, I'm sorry, but one of the bedrooms in this house isn't actually functional because I put like a fake futon in that room. Yeah, so it's my usual technique of doing the fake futon where I just basically enlarged a towel and that's pretty much it. But now you can see me working on the kitchen right here. And I gotta say, this new kitchen set that came with Felix's Kyoto set is so gorgeous. I love it so much. It has a hint of Japanese, but it could also go very modern and traditional. I love that rough stone texture on the countertops. Perfect Wabi-Sabi effect right there. It's also a concept that I tried to implement in this build as well. You'll see some Wabi-Sabi in the textures that I use, which tend to be a little bit more worn out and weathered, I guess. In case you didn't know, Wabi-Sabi is a Japanese concept of basically appreciating the natural state of things, even old things. So I tried to incorporate that as well in this build. Also notice that this build uses a lot of tatami rooms, and unfortunately the Sims can't sit on the floor, so having tatami really doesn't make sense, but there is some low-lying furniture that came with this Kyoto set, such as this inari right here, which is a Japanese stove, and I put that here in this kind of like main living room area, and then surprisingly it works with these low-lying chairs. Basically this inari stove is just a fire pit, and wow, it actually works. You can have your Sim sit over there and light a fire and relax, and I'm really happy about that. And I also really appreciate the low-lying furniture as well, because I think even though the Sims can't really sit on the floor, that's the closest thing we can have at the moment. It's really funny because Felix is actually a good friend, and as he was working on this set, he actually kept sending me a lot of previews, which I really appreciated because I got to see some snippets even before everyone else did, which made me really happy. But one of the things that we did talk about was the low-lying furniture, because obviously, we have limitations in the game, and I think they nailed it. Felix and Harry, who I believe helped him with this set as well. But I did use that beautiful round shelf in that little hallway right there, and I gotta say that's such a beautiful piece of furniture. There's a lot of little things that somebody like me who's really into architectural history really appreciates, and one of them is actually the staircase if you look closely, there's an item that Felix made, which is basically like a stacked box type of furniture you'll see in Japanese townhouses. I forget what it's called, but basically because townhouses are very cramped when it comes to space, the Japanese came up with this very innovative technique of using boxes to also function as a staircase as well, which I actually really appreciated Felix for incorporating into his Kyoto set. I love that attention to detail. And I think another one of my favorite aspects of this build is definitely this courtyard area. Also, for those of you who don't know, the set comes in 3 parts. They basically got released over the period of 3 months, and the month of June is probably the set that I would highly recommend because that's the one that came with most of the build items. And I like how Felix gave us the option of having open sliding doors. I wasn't able to use any of them because they were way too big for this townhouse, but I used some archways that came with the set instead, mixed in with some of the windows, and it looks like they're sliding doors, which is amazing. So there are some shoji windows over here, and I also used just some plain glass windows as well because I really wanted this courtyard to be visible from the interior. Another interesting feature that I incorporated in this build is actually that thatch roof. I once again thought of Wabi-Sabi when I incorporated that, and I thought that was a cute little touch. And right here we're furnishing the other of the 2 courtyards, which basically opens onto the bathroom. I honestly think this is probably one of my best bathrooms like ever. I think it's so beautiful. I love how it has that outdoorsy aspect to it because of that courtyard, and I really love the furniture that Felix came up with for this bathroom. You know, that bathtub is really simple, but I think it works. You know, I think it works with this aesthetic. I think it looks very Japanese minimalistic, if that makes any sense. So yeah, I really love this bathroom area. Kind of reminds me of an onsen, even though it's not really an onsen, but you know, you can pretend. Not gonna lie, I think one of my dreams is to go to Japan and just go to an onsen. I'm probably way too shy to go into a public onsen, but maybe I'll go to a private one. You know, like I think some ryokans have private onsens where you can just have it all for yourself. So I think that's gonna be so amazing actually. If you've been to an onsen, please let me know. A friend of mine who has actually been to Japan has been to an onsen, and I heard it can be very expensive. Luckily, their Japanese host family paid for them, which was very generous. But as per usual, when it comes to Japanese bathrooms, it's typically separated into different areas. So there's a separate area for the toilet, and then there's a separate area for the bath. So this is like the toilet area. And yeah, I just try to fit in as much of the bathroom set in here. By the way, other than using Felix's Kyoto set, I'm also using the bathroom set, which is a collab between Felix Hender and Harry. And I'm happy to say that the bathroom set is actually free for everyone. I love it when Harry and Felix collabs because the sets that they work on eventually go on for public release, which is super awesome, especially for builders like me, because obviously I want like as many people to download my builds as possible, right? So yeah, having that free set for the bathroom really helps. So don't be lazy. just get that set for yourself. Moving on to the upstairs, this is where I incorporated the 2 bedrooms, and to be honest, there's really not much happening in the bedrooms because typically Japanese houses don't really have a lot of furniture. A lot of the furniture tends to be modular. Can we call it modular? I'm referring to like the futons. Actually, I don't think modular is the right term, but a lot of them can be kept basically in like a closet or like in a storage area and just be put out whenever you need them. You guys get what I mean. So this is the bedroom I was talking to you guys about, the not so functional one, but I did put a day bed in there actually. I just didn't want to repeat the exact same bedroom because these 2 bedrooms have the same layout. So there's only 1 bed that came with the Kyoto set, so I didn't want to repeat the same exact room, but you know, you can do whatever you want once you download this. Also, before you download this, please make sure that you allow custom content in your gallery filter, because that's another question that I got way too often in my CC builds. A lot of people always ask me why they can't search my builds on the gallery. If they're using CC, I can't link them on the YouTube video because I can't search for them on the Sims gallery website, so you're gonna have to search for them on the gallery yourselves. Also, all of the links to the CC I use in this will be in the description below. I only use Felixander CC anyway, so that's that. Also, I did some changes to the exterior. As you just saw, I changed the facade to make it look a little bit nicer and also to highlight Felix's windows as well on the 2nd floor. And over here outside, I didn't really know what to do, so I just put a little like bike parking area and also some vending machines. I'm not sure if an old town area like this would have a vending machine, but knowing Japan, I wouldn't be surprised if a place like this did have a vending machine. And I think the last thing that I do is this little lamp right here, which I also find in many machiyas. I'm not sure if it's a lamp or if it's like a little altar shrine type of thing, so I just put one of the lights that came with the Kyoto set over there as well. And that's pretty much it for this build, so hopefully you enjoyed it. I definitely had so much fun showcasing Felix's Kyoto set. Hopefully he makes more so I can do more Japanese builds for you guys. But other than that, I think that's going to be it. So thank you so much for watching. You all have an awesome day. Enjoy the rest of the video and I will see you guys next time. Bye bye.